We are. Hey, welcome to Friday at 5. I'm Karen Taylor of the Color Vowel Chart, here for a Friday at 5 with the topic of Blue Canoe in Zoom with you. What color is all of that?
Blue, blue, blue.
Got a lot of blue words going on here. Blue, moon, ooh. Is anybody in the room new to Color Vowel? Love to know that. So if you could go over to the chat, this is actually a chance for us to find our chat. And even if you're not new, let's just say you're not new, I want you to find the chat and actually click on participants. And you'll see that with participants, there's also a really quick instant kind of poll. There's yes and there's no. So if you're new to Color Vowel, please click yes in the participants chat there. And if you're not new, click no. And I think all of us can kind of see this instant poll, right? Can you see that? Yeah, that's kind of a nice little feature.
Yeah.
Right? Robin, you look like you're interested in that.
I can't see everybody because I have to scroll up and down, but
right. But the yes and the no poll, can you see that?
To be able to do for a class.
Yeah, so I just like seeing that little number above the no. That tells me the general gist here, and that nobody's brand new to Color Vowel. Without looking at
now I don't have a number. I think maybe only the host has that.
Is that true? Does anybody else see the number? No. Okay. Secret answer for me, the host.
Secret info.
Okay, so now you know that I can see that 10 people answered no, and that nobody clicked on yes for yes, I'm new to Color Vowel. Okay. Hey, Jennifer, is this Jennifer not Jennifer Campion, she's here too, but Jennifer Fadden, is that you? I'd love to know. Jennifer from Northern Virginia. Graciela, welcome. Good to have you here. Linda. Okay.
No, that's me, Jennifer from Northern.
Oh, Virginia. I got so excited. I mean, I get to see you all the time, so pardon the...
Sorry to disappoint.
Oh, but that looks like Shirley down at the bottom there.
That is Shirley down at the bottom there. All righty. Well, hey, and welcome to Debbie. Nice to see you from Intercambio. So that's wonderful.
Oh, I was wondering who Intercambio was.
Yep. So Debbie recently took our basics course, and we need to keep talking. It's a great day to be here because we haven't gotten a chance to dig into Blue Canoe for a while. And it's a great timing because I feel like I just happened upon kind of a new couple of strategies or little tricks that for me are fairly game changing. And I'll demonstrate them today with Blue Canoe as the focus. Okay. So, at this point, I would hope that everybody in the room has at least downloaded the basic version of Blue Canoe. Is that true? Can we use the yes, no's? Yeah, you have it? If you don't, you can go to, and Jennifer will help me out maybe, bluecanoelearning.com for information, but you can go straight to your app store, and you can tell this to your students too. They can go to their app store if they're a Mac, iPhone user, and they can go to Google Play. If you're an iPhone user, you don't know what Google Play is, but that's what Android users use. It's Google Play to go get their apps. Okay?
I tried, but I have a dumb phone instead of a smartphone.
Yeah, Robin, we're going to have we're going to do an intervention with you. You need something
well, at least it's not a flip phone still. I retired that just recently.
Yeah, that's true. So so getting it is one thing. If you have questions, we can certainly get to those about the different versions. But what we're really excited about is that the free basic version is available to anyone in the world for free, and it stays there. And so that means they can play Blue Canoe's Color It Out game permanently with the 200 top words that we have in there. They get a free lesson, and they have access to our instructional videos in there, as well as the Color Vowel chart itself. Has anybody used the Color Vowel chart as part of their warm-up in an online session? That might be my first tip. Yeah, take out your phones for a minute, everybody. And let's open up Blue Canoe and show me your Color Vowel chart. Should look something like that. And I'll go ahead and make my screen brighter. There we go. Now it's too bright. So when you're doing this kind of business, by the way, if you angle it, it'll help cut down on some of the extra glare, or just change your lighting. And it has to be down pretty low for it not to oversaturate the screen. Okay. Otherwise, it just, like Debbie, yours looks like pretty much like a bright light. And if you lower your light, it'll help everybody see Marianne, yeah. The closer you get too, that helps. Great. So, you know, it's kind of nice that you could, if you needed a break in the middle of a long class online, you could have everyone take out their phones and you could take that 2-minute break while they go through the color vowel warm-up. That would be a nice little break. I mean, teaching online is exhausting, isn't it? I think it is. You know, there are moments where like, I've got to get a glass of water, and it's not really the time I want everyone to break. So you could put them on their own course here. And you, if by this point you should have already, you know, explained or presented the chart several times. So they know to go through an order, they know to use their hand, and they know to repeat. What do you think about that? Little mini tip number 1.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of sitting there ready to be done. I like it too because it gets them doing something you want them to do before they start every session on their own. I mean, their practice session, right?
Excuse me, Karen, I just noticed I don't think I see Auburn dog.
You don't. You don't. Where's the dog? All right,
Marianne, yes.
You're right. I know. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. And I mean, you know, this is the thing for now. But the way we think of this is, this chart behind me is for everybody. And it starts with the teacher and the teacher's ever-growing phonological awareness, right? And anyone who's been in basics, which is a lot of you, knows that we're always turning to this thing saying, wow, I didn't realize, you know. So it's built for us to explore the way I speak, the way you speak, and then what we can do with that awareness when we teach learners. So the chart is comprehensive. Now, the app is for learners. And when we decided how to craft and focus the app, we sought to do a few things. One is, of course, to have a user interface, you know, the way it's organized, that is very simple, and we're always working on that. But another aspect of that simplicity is keeping the cognitive load down as far as possible. And wouldn't you feel better if you were told, guess what, you only have to learn, what do I have in here? 14 vowel sounds and not 15. Right? So if there's one vowel that is not crucial to being comprehensible, it's Auburn. Auburn is, how would you like to put that, Robin, in a way that isn't offensive to the Auburn lovers in this room?
I can't think of any way of putting it that's not offensive to the Auburn lovers, because it for me, it's as crucial as the difference between P and B. Right.
So it is, it seems crucial, and yet it's not crucial for speakers of other languages to master that sound. Meaning if they speak like, and Robin, I'm gonna have you hold your tongue for just a moment, but if they speak like me saying cot, I caught the ball and I slept on the cot, is it okay that they speak like me? And like me, I mean, not my accent exactly, but is it okay that they say cot and cot with all of vowels?
I think that they will be understood.
Right. So we're trying to,
except for a couple times when when
Dawn walks in and you're surprised that it's Dawn.
Yeah.
Good. So there are this very small number of minimal pairs that involved olive and Auburn, and otherwise olive is sufficient for all of these words, all of the words. Okay, so that's a little bit of the background to this. The other part of the background to it is that many speakers of English don't distinguish between the two. And so it was causing a lot of users, the teacher users, to say, I don't understand what this is. I can't hear the difference. So we went with less is more, and that's why you don't see Auburn. But you know where you will see it is in the dictionary. So if you now turn to dictionary and put in the word C-A-U-G-H-T, and if you take a look there.
I did find it in the dictionary law.
Right.
It was very diplomatic, and I was thrilled.
Well, good. I'm glad that that's a little bit of a concession that helps, bring us back into good standing, because, it's not my goal to offend anybody. So there's our dog. It's right there, our Auburn dog, showing that it is, for some speakers of English, an Auburn word. Okay. So, okay. So thank you, Marianne, for noticing that. We're always having to find that fine line between the two, the teachers and the learners. And so that's why Color It Out, our new edition of Color It Out, which is right here. Did I sound Canadian there for a minute? Did I say out? Yeah, was that fun? I'm not, I just sort of thought I'd play with that. But our new edition of Color It Out, which I have right here, also does not contain Auburn anymore. You won't see those stripy, if anybody was familiar with our cards, and I don't have the old ones. Here they are. Anyone who knows those stripy cards, they were visually very distracting, and then they had to be explained. And then you have people focusing in on a distinction that really is not that significant, right? So suddenly, like, really, does it matter if I say walk or walk or walk? That word is, as long as it's somewhere in that area, it's good enough. And so now you'll see those kinds of words as Olive, and that's not going to feel perfect for Marianne or for Robin or for some other people.
Robin wants to know if she still has to hold her tongue.
Yeah, you know, Robin and I have, whenever we're not social distancing, we need to do something new because we'd like to have breakfast often. So she can, you know. So this is a decision we made that was not taken lightly. What we find, though, is that users are fine with it. And this is the key is, you know, we spend a lot of time, we're all about the teachers, but we also need to be acting in the interest of the learners. And so we could have entire Fridays at 5 all about our accent variation, right?
I could do that.
We could do that. But in the end, what do our learners want to do? Do they want to hear how you feel about Auburn and how I feel like it could be sacrificed for the sake of simplicity in some learning situations?
When you give up your interdentals for the same reason, I will talk to you about this.
Hey, I like my interdentals. No, it's a good point. So that's where we are with that. Now back to Blue Canoe and some tips, because I think I've got some exciting stuff for you. One thing I've been struggling with is just the idea of turn taking in Zoom. And so this is apart from Blue Canoe, but in order to take turns, I'd like to do something with you right now that then will lead to our little Zoom and Blue Canoe moment. And so what I'll ask is, does everybody know how to change their name the way it appears in Zoom? Go up to your kebab menu, the 3 dots, and find rename. And then I'm going to have you keep your name the way it is, but before your name and how it appears, I'd like you to put the number that I tell you to put. And so Anna knows what I'm doing. She was there last night. Anna, you're 2. You're the number 2. Skip, you're 3. Jennifer is 4. Joan, I'm doing it. Well, actually, I'm going to cancel out. You're 5, Joan. Graciela is 6. Chelsea is 7. Princess Summer Fall Winter is 8. Robin. Debbie is 9. So put a 9 right before your name, Debbie. Linda, you're 10. Now is 11. Gina is 12. Marianne, you're 13. Queen Elizabeth is 14. Thanks, Liz. Elaine is 15. Natalia is 16. Other Linda is 17, so not Linda Burvingson, but rather Linda that's just Linda. And Shirley, you're 18. And if anyone has trouble doing that, like I can see like Natalia may not be in the room or maybe she can't do it, I can go through and see and rename her myself. So I can say 16 and there's Natalia and she is renamed. See that? So now I can have you do it or I can do it for you.
Thank you. I didn't know how to do it.
That's okay. So I'll take Linda and I'll make you a 17. And so who is it that needs help? Nobody? We're all good? What do you think so far? I mean, do you suddenly kind of see where we're going with this?
Let me interject that I Googled Zoom modify name and it gave me the instructions and it worked.
Oh, good, good. So either the teacher can you can walk your students through it like this, or you could send them the link to do this. That's great.
Erin, you need to give yourself number 1.
I do. So I can do that right now. Rename. There I am. number 1. Okay. Ta-dum. Okay. What can we do with this? Well, now it's just a lot easier. So we could, for example, warm up with the chart, and we always use the same order, so we don't have to worry about telling people what color they're on as long as they pay attention. And you could even just point on your phone if you wanted to point at which one. So for now, if I say green tea, Anna knows that it's her turn now. So she could say silver pen.
Silver pen,
Skip.
Gray
You're gonna do gray. Can't hear you. Everyone unmute.
Gray day.
A.
Hey, okay. Just here to keep me on my toes, huh? Okay, Jennifer.
Red pepper,
Joan.
Black cat,
Nice, Graciela. Everyone take out your hands while they do. Yep.
Olive sock,
Great, Chelsea.
Auburn dog. All right, sorry. I'll do Auburn dog,
Okay. Do I go up or back? Turquoise toy, oi. Ah.
Orange door, or. Rose bold, O.
Good, Linda Birvingson, your turn.
blue moon.
I think we're on wooden hook.
Oh, wooden hook.
Great, Gina. We can still see her lips, so it's perfect. Marianne. Good job. Marianne, you're on mustard.
Mustard cup,
Good. Liz.
Purple shirt,
Great. Brown. Here we are for Elaine. Brown.
Brown cow, ow.
Nice. Natalia.
White tie, I.
Nice. Linda, number 17, Linda. We're not sure. Shirley.
What are you pointing to?
Green tea.
Green tea. T-E.
All right. And anybody else want to go? I can't see if Liz is actually in the room or not. Linda? Not sure? All right. So I can see everybody and I can still call them by name, but I have a much easier way of tracking who I'm on, especially because the pictures change place, right?
Yeah.
And we can follow in order ourselves without your intervening.
Yeah, it gets easier and easier. So once everybody's used to it in the session, I find then we just zoom along, no pun intended. So it's really nice to...
I did this in class today. It was really easy, and I did it as the kids were coming into the class. As I was greeting them and saying hello, I just was changing their names and giving them all numbers, and it was like it was over before we even started class. And
I'm so glad to hear that. That's great. Yeah, so that's just my first little bit. Now, what can we do with Blue Canoe? So if you are the students in the room and I'm the teacher, you can think, well, what on earth should I do with Blue Canoe? Because I'm the teacher and I'm real, and why would I have them record themselves when I can give the feedback, right? But there's so much more we can do there. And so if you just go to, let's just try sentences for today, because we brainstormed some pretty neat stuff, and I think we can take it even further today. And that'll be exciting. So if you're right here in the app and you go to the main menu, where you can browse, please go down to work, which is the light blue. And here, this whole holding up the phone thing, it depends on how much time you're going to spend here, but watch what else you could do if you really spend a lot of time wanting to, show things. You could use a document camera. And that's what I'm doing here. Everyone can see that, right? So suddenly the phone is not just all over the place and with a big glare and so forth. So now you can follow and do exactly what I do. Business meetings. Please step on business meetings 2. That's where I'd like you to be. Is everybody there? Yeah. All right. And so in business meetings 2, Now I know that everybody has the same sentence in front of them. And that's true of any lesson that I guide them to. Meaning we can all kind of have our own mini whiteboard with a version of that sentence. And I don't have to write it somewhere for them to see it. And I can kind of do this, in fact. I can stop share and I can see all of you in my gallery. And I know we all have the same sentence in front of me. That's a nice little step. The next nice little step is that I can direct everyone to a little feature that I want them to use during class today. And that is this 3-item kebab menu. Again, that kebab like a shish kebab, press it and you'll see that you have the opportunity to hide the hints. When you do that, what do you think?
Yeah.
I like that.
What does that do for you as a teacher? What excites you?
You can
underlines.
You can do all kinds of things now, right? Linda?
Differentiate.
Tell me more. I hear single word answers, but I want to hear what's on your mind. The minute we have this, what do your teacher minds start to do as far as planning goes? What can you do with this one sentence with everybody in Zoom?
I would have them find the, you know, these are thought groups. So I'd have them find the focus word in each one on their own. And then maybe work with a partner to decide, oh, I guess you can't do partners because we're online. But, you know, and then where's the stress? What color is it?
Okay. So they could basically do a markup, their own markup, right? And you could.
Well, I mean, they couldn't mark it up, but they could
plan the markup.
Yeah, but you could use breakout rooms if you wanted to pair people up.
Yeah, especially if you know you put them each on a different lesson. Maybe it doesn't matter, right? Yeah. But if they decided, well, in our group of 4 in our breakout room, I'll progress these by, we'll take turns actually recording ourselves, or we'll mute and all of us will record it. But then we get to the next sentence. I don't know about that part. I kind of feel like the recording and stuff would happen outside of class. I don't want to take time.
Is there a way to remove the words and just keep the symbols, the logos?
Well, the best way I found.
I don't want them to read aloud.
Yeah, here's my very fancy way is to show the hints and to do that.
Okay. Can I make them do that? I guess I can.
Right, you could. Or if you already know you are going to work with that sentence, that's why you have image cards, right? Yeah. So we have, in this case, now I'll stop share for a minute. We have, so you could do this before you ever have them take out their phones. You know what the sentence is. So now we have I, E. I, E. I, E. Provide context meeting. Provide context meeting. I'd like to provide some context for the meeting. I'd like to provide some context for the meeting. As long as everyone is muted, and the part, you know, that I'm trying to make sure I know how to get people to really do is to speak in a mirroring way with me, right? To actually speak at the same time that I am with their mute on.
Yeah, it doesn't. Right?
And I can't quite catch it whether they're really doing it, but that's an important piece there, isn't it? You want to try that? Did everybody really try that with me? Right? Yeah. What do you think, Liz?
Well, you know, I started teaching online these kids in China right when the pandemic first hit. And I discovered that I could unmute, you know, if they didn't mute themselves, if I muted them, then I could have us doing like, you know, mirroring, right? They're reading along with me. And then I could like unmute them randomly to kind of hear if they were doing it with me or not, or with something else, with a recording or something else. But now it seems like Zoom has changed it so you can't, I don't know, some people I can unmute, other people I can only ask to unmute. And I haven't been able to figure out what's up with that, because it was working great and now it's not working great.
I think it's a privacy feature. I mean, for example, just now I see Elaine here and she's on mute. I tried unmuting her. Well, why should I be able to suddenly listen to something that might be private?
Right. Yeah, I understand the reason. But I mean, and it used to be if they muted themselves, then you couldn't unmute them.
Yeah.
But if you muted them to begin with, you could also unmute them, and you still can do that with some people. But if anybody figures out what the rules are, I would love to know, because that was a way that I could see if they were doing it or not.
Yeah. No, I've lost that feature altogether. I've lost 2 features in my fancy Zoom account, which I pay for. And one is that I can't unmute people. And the other is that I can't share my entire desktop. And I can't figure that one out. So, little glitches that affect different people differently.
And you can't share the Zoom page, which is funny. So if you want to show somebody how to do something in Zoom, you can't do that.
Exactly. So that's problematic. But anyway.
Chelsea had a good suggestion. If you
I want to hear about that. Chelsea?
Yeah. So I was thinking kind of like jigsawing a little bit. So if they're in their breakout rooms and you mentioned doing different sentences, so they do different sentences. And then when we come back, if they have image cards, they can use image cards, or they can take turns and maybe choose a leader from the group, and they can lead the whole group in their chants. And they can talk about what colors and ask other students, do you agree? And like have that back and forth.
That's right. So at this point, you may be thinking, well, gosh, do I have to sit there with my phone and look at all of these different lessons to decide which one I'll use for the first sentence? Please know that over in the Blue Canoe educators page that we have this really valuable resource, right? Where did it go? Lessons. See this one? And that is an overwhelmingly full set of sentences, but you can zoom in. That's what's beautiful. Once you zoom in, it's really helpful to just look at the first sentence of each lesson. And now you can sort of decide where you want to lead people for today's one lesson, one sentence. You're not even going to go through the rest of the sentences. It's just the first one that appears. Because again, they may not have internet access. They won't get to, it may not work. It may be noisy. There are all kinds of reasons not to spend time during class having them record themselves. But what they can do is end up with their own mini whiteboard where they can provide the cues and take away the hints and do interesting things. So you can scroll down here and decide where you want to direct them for that first sentence. Questions about that resource? Okay. I can send you.
Question. Is that available to, I had understood that was not available to people who didn't sign up their students.
That is available to the public now. So if you go to, just trying to find my chat again, there we go. I'm going to put it in the chat. So if you go to this website and bookmark it, you won't find it from the front page. And that's just a little bit of like, we want people to understand what it is before we share it with them. But now I'm sharing it with you, okay? So now you have that resource as well as, and as far as while we're here, I'll just say, what else is here? Everything else that's here that's printable, we have on the Color Vowel website as well. So you haven't been missing out on, all kinds of resources. We have a few ideas in this document that I'm always sort of elaborating on, but you might find this an interesting document too. Just ways that you can integrate Blue Canoe. It's a bit of what we're doing right now, but with a lot of ideas that could each be fleshed out in their own little Zoom session with all of us here. Okay. So that's that piece. What else? Everything else is over there. There's a very nice video actually that I need to put on my website. I say it's a very nice video. I made the video, but it is a nice video. It's comprehensive. It's for the learner. That's the thing. So this is an 18-minute introduction to Blue Canoe that you don't have to do by pointing to stuff. So you can, it'll onboard them into the Color Vowel concept and get them oriented to what's in there. So that's a nice resource too. Okay. All right. So with that said, let's come back to our idea because there's more. We have one sentence on our screen that all of us are looking at. We're all in the same classroom with our teacher. What else can we do besides the sort of the kind of support that leads to success in Blue Canoe? What can we do with this sentence that's sort of a little out of the box? One idea that came up last night was to, I think this is Skip's idea. You want to explain that one, Skip, about reading it with different focus words? Like,
okay, yeah, with different focus words. Yeah. What was the sentence? Like, it's like, I'm going to New York on Sunday. I'm going to New York on Sunday. You know, basically changing the focus word in there. And we usually never say, I'm going to New York, because, you know, it's kind of bragging. So it changes the whole meaning. So
the sentence here is,
where is it?
Provide some context for this meeting.
Okay. I'd like to provide some, I'd like to provide some context for this meeting. Yeah. So, you know, I'd like to expand on some. I don't want to explain everything. I just want to explain this one small part of the context, you know.
So if you, the teacher, are aware of two other ways you could read this sentence, Skip could say, you know, there's a default way of hearing the sentence, which is the way we record it. And that's kind of the most neutral way that one could say that sentence. And then you could perform other ways that it could sound and see if students can maybe guess it to what that meaning would be behind that way. Like you were saying.
Sorry, yeah, and something else that also just focusing on the focus words, but when you go into it, I used to always, of course, make a big differentiation between the you know, the structure words, the less important words, and just as long as I'm looking at words, I'm like, okay, you have these two things here, and you know, you're probably not going to stress the I'm, but that was introducing the lesson. I'd just say, what are the structure words? What are the words that you probably wouldn't emphasize, and go at it that way, and so slowly build into it and explore that way. The stress.
And not every sentence will lend itself in the same way to changing the focus words, right? So you'll have to sort of play with that idea.
What I like about that is that it's also going to change the color of that part of the sentence. And so once you've changed the focus word, then you have to, the students have to then figure out which image to hold up.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. That's what I like. Yeah. Before I had those color cards, that's what I used to do. I said, I'd say a sentence and, okay, what color do you really hear? Because I would really kind of exaggerate it. And they'd be like, oh, I hear this and I hear this color. Because I would change the focus, basically.
Does anybody have their students buying the image cards so that they can hold up what they hear?
Yeah.
That's been a thought. They're very affordable, just so you know. Like if you're talking about they're going to buy a textbook, or if they're in a school where they're going to study online and purchase a textbook or other materials, why not this quick way to, this is what I hear, right? Great. Just a thought.
I don't use it I don't have it because we have one set for the classroom, but now that we have different rooms for each person, we need one set per person. So each person needs their own set, and each person needs their own color it out game too.
Right.
I think that's a great idea, but another idea that I had, like we were doing some exercises between the distinguishing between green and silver. So I just had my students go and get something green, you know, and something silver, like a spoon or
oh my God,
a pan or something.
Yeah.
So then when I said, like, you know, pizza, then they would hold it. And I said, hold it right in front of the camera so I can see. And then I
remember seeing that footage. It was so beautiful, Liz. It's a great idea. It's better, really. And I mean, they're going out to find a green object and a silver, and that's its own activity. And now you have shorthand.
And a wooden thing. I mean, it's easier to find a wooden thing than a wooden color. You know what I mean? So that works too.
That is fantastic. Let's all, I don't know if that deserves like a big applause there. That's beautiful. Does everyone understand? Does anyone want to hear it again, what we just said? So neat. Okay, we got it. That's a fantastic tip. So I was thinking of a third thing with a sentence. Again, just, it's not the most exciting sentence, I know that. But you could go around and pick which one you want. But with this sentence, I'm going to now share my document camera. Okay, I feel kind of old-fashioned. I'm going to use the document camera, and so I might write, wow, I haven't written so much lately, right? I'd like to provide.
Teach the world to sing.
Okay, I'd like to provide some context for this meeting. I could do this in a PowerPoint too, right? I just realized that. But let's just say now, we can go ahead and do some substitution activities here. Name one of our focus words that you could replace, and what will you replace it with?
Provide. I want supply.
Okay, I would
Same color, but.
Okay, good. So then you would ask, supply, same color or different color? Right, supply, white tie, supply. So everybody, or Robin, read the new sentence with your hand.
Okay. I'd like to supply some context for this meeting.
Good. And Anna, because you were there last night and I know how much you like this word, can you read it the way you hear it? Oh, we can't hear you though.
I'd like to supply some context for this meeting.
Great. And there's no problem with that, right? We have supply, we have context, we have meeting, and this is a verb. It does deserve stress there, right?
And I was thinking about this today because I had a similar sentence today that I was doing, and Dawn and I were going, like, she's saying don't stress, and I'm saying yes, I am going to stress it because it's the verb and it's the principle. The principle that we do stress the content words as opposed to the function words. So like I'm at the very beginning. I don't want to get into but you don't have to, it's a verb. It's like the main part of the sentence.
Right. And we mark, as you see here, we mark initially the 3 focus words, but that doesn't mean that they're the only important words. Mm-hmm. The content words are still in there. And listen, as I demoed this last night, and here I will take a moment to record, just watch. I'd look to provide some context for this meeting. Okay, so you'll find that I'm going to get feedback on the word like, even though it wasn't underlined to start with. Okay, so I still have this piece. Let me get my volume up.
Oops, I hear a different word than the word you need to say.
I hear you saying Luke right there. That's interesting. Sometimes the feedback will actually put the word they heard into the text right there. And sometimes it'll be, this was blue and it needs to be white. So it's kind of, it gets, there's a little variation there, okay? So it's to say we have actually prepared the machine learning to listen to all content words, whether they're whether they're focus words or whether they're just another content word in the sentence. Does that make sense to everyone? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's, and we're not evaluating for example. You will not get feedback on the word for. Because if somebody says it for, I can't really tell them it's that wrong. And if they fail to say for this meeting, it's just not one of the biggest fish in the world. It's not worth frying that one, right?
Another one, Karen, I liked about with the substitution thing is I did it with the academic one because those are phrases they would use in academics. And so we had a sentence that you're standing at the desk and asking for something. Mm-hmm. And so I asked them, like, what are the situations have you been in where you have to be at the desk and you have to be interacting with somebody, the registrar or whatever. So, and then we were able to look at other words they could put into sort of a sentence frame and how would you pronounce it and what would change about it and stuff. So that worked really well today.
Great. So you find yourself, the idea of doing that with sentences here still works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't do business. I did it in academic. The academic one, I really liked the lessons there.
Great.
They're right on target for my students.
Yeah, so we could keep switching words out here, right? What about some? Could we replace some with something better or different? Not better, just different. I'd like to supply
more.
More. Nice. I'd like to go ahead and read that for us, Joan.
I'd like to supply more context for this meeting.
Nice. I'd like to supply more context for this meeting. I'd like to supply more context for this what? What do you think? Linda? We can't hear you
Get
though.
together.
Huh?
Just off the top of my head, get together.
Ah, for this get together. Great. So, you know, this is the kind of, you know, the instinct that you're using, the intuition that you're using to provide acceptable substitutions, you take for granted because it's easy for us. But for our learners, they're really having to, you know, bounce around up there and find a good word. Yeah. Okay, good. So that's another way to use this. Any other thoughts about how to really exploit a single sentence that everyone can look at? Or maybe now we kind of diversify to everyone goes to a different lesson to the first sentence. What could we do with that? And just sort of thinking of ways that we're using Blue Canoe kind of piggybacking on its availability, right? And so it has a bunch of good sentences in here. How can we use them? That's not a rhetorical question. So I'd love ideas.
I want to turn them into chants somehow. I don't know how exactly, but it's got the right rhythm.
Yeah, you know, a lot of these, you know, here's another one. Can I ask that we all state our names? Can I ask that we all state our names? Can I ask? Can I ask? Can I ask that we all state our names?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So yeah, there are lots of chant opportunities, and I didn't pick that knowingly. Because we've crafted these around 3 beats, you'll find that a lot of these sentences lend themselves to these mini chants. What did I just do? If you know, we had our chants class recently, but what I'm doing here is a classic ABC chant where I'm using my ABC, ABC, different, different, ABC. So it's, you know, here it was, can I ask that we all state our names? Can I ask that we all state our names? Can I ask? Can I ask? Can I ask that we all state our names? So I kind of modified this idea so it doesn't have to be A and B. It could just be anything shorter and a bit of a beat in there for breathing. Okay. What else would you do with a chant there, Robin?
I would look for rhymes too. I don't know if you've got rhymes, but with my classes for phonological awareness, it's important to have rhymes. So what rhymes with name, I guess. You know, same, game, you know.
Lame.
See what they can come up with.
Yeah. You know, especially if you found a nice sentence there. In that way, you know, maybe it's providing some ideas for you. And maybe if they're very creative and more advanced for a class like Robin's leading, they can each try to do that with another sentence. Again, they weren't crafted that way, so some are better than others for creating a chant. You'll find them.
Yeah.
Someone else is going to say something?
I was going to say, if you're going to make it into a chant, if it lends itself to that, you could ask students to replace the short A-B part. So, for example, can I ask, what was it? Can I ask that we all state our names? And then instead of say, can I ask, what's another way? You could say something like,
I'd like to know.
Oh, I had it. Like, do you mind, or something like that.
Yeah. So can I ask that we all state our names? Do you mind? Do you mind? Can I ask that we all state our names? Yeah, that's a really nice chant. Yeah, we have a chants workshop coming up, by the way. I think Anna's in it. You've signed up recently, haven't you? And I think Joan did. I'm really excited about that. It's coming up August 3rd, I believe, beginning of August. And some others just took it recently. Skip took it, Chelsea, right? So this is the kind of work we do in that particular class. If you're interested in, especially leading chants and then making some, what do you call them, revisions and kind of modifying a chant in this way that we're describing.
I also just wanted to state that those, the example you gave and simplifying it is really great for who I teach, 11-year-olds, like in middle school, because they really, you know, they love the rhythm and the chants, and it's really relaxing for them as well, you know, and it really, they can come up with another word or two, and you can work around it and keep working and working and coming up with a chant and just changing the topic a little bit, you know, like something about what's your favorite lunch, which I used to just do for homework to have them write. But you could do this in a chant or something, you know, it's like, do you like, and something, I don't know. I'm just off the top of my head thinking, going in that area.
Good, good, good. Well, going back to, any other thoughts on sentences? And now's the time before I go into anything else that I will ask. There were folks who were there.
I have a comment. So I have Zoom sessions with my director in the morning, and how we sing sentences. She said, start with the da vowel, which is the cup of mustard vowel. You take a breath and sing, starting there. And that was something new that she brought up, because we used to start on the O. Like if the first word was O, we would start on that vowel.
So now can you show us what you mean?
Now we're just using the cup of mustard vowel when we start our singing. Start the song and then you breathe and you start the next sentence. That was just a revelation to me today.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about singing and using mustard as kind of a resting vowel.
Yeah, so I mean, chanting, singing, it's related.
Like, old MacDonald had a farm, like that, instead of the
old MacDonald.
Yeah,
MacDonald.
Yeah, we wouldn't start with O vowel, we'll start with the cup of mustard vowel, raising your palate in the back, so it's at the right position.
Nice. I love hearing this singing perspective. It's a lot of
fun. We've always talked about starting the word with that vowel, you know, our uptunes. That's like, we've heard it forever. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Wonderful.
They're learning too. So everybody's evolving. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
That's because the schwa is in the middle. It's the average vowel, and so you can go to any vowel from there. That must be why.
That's the idea.
That's the principle. Okay, I get it.
They're grasping it. So yeah, it's easier to switch from the da vowel to every other vowel and the consonants.
Yes, yes. Well, there was one other, I mean, we're off in the land of singing, but I've always been interested in the people who have, years ago, Shirley will remember, we used to get requests from choral directors. And now I don't always know who's ordering, but we would get email inquiries saying, you know, I'm a choral director and I'd like a poster. And then I'd run out the Kinkos and I would print a big poster. And so finally, maybe it was even with you, Linda, at some conference, I finally met a teacher who's also, you know, in the world of choral work. And the person said, well, yeah, because a choir can't sing in tune if they're not singing the same vowel sounds.
Yeah, and so I sent the little cards to every chorus member, and some of them are going, what is this? They haven't heard of it, and
have now.
So it's been distributed.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great. I'd like to just invite for Anna and, I mean, not to put you on the spot, but anyone who was there last night, we had a pretty lively, fun talk that touched on a lot of these points. So can I just ask candidly, why did you come back today? And what is it you're hoping to do that maybe we haven't done quite yet?
Oh, it was so much fun last night. I wanted more.
Right, the more ideas.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
yeah, I like repetition.
Okay. Repetition is good. Repetition is good. Repetition is good. Great. Well, if we're back into, Shirley brought in a really neat idea just the other day, and it might have been, I don't think it was last night, but it was very recently. And that is just, it's super handy to consider what we can do with the dictionary. And so in the dictionary, I know what it was. We had somebody saying, you know, it'd be so nice if we had a way to organize words in Blue Canoe. And that's certainly a feature we're heading toward, is to have a way to store, you know, my favorite words or my special words, and we'll get there. But for the time being, what you're seeing right now, I'm just looking at these words and they're making me laugh. These are the words that I've recently looked up in my dictionary. And you can actually intentionally create sort of a ready list for if you're a student who's about to give a talk or a presentation. You could look up the words, not because you don't know them, but because then you can quickly review them, right? So this word's going to come up and I can practice. Olive.
Olive sock. Caught.
And by the way, that's how I like to do it. I like to press.
Olive sock. Caught.
I like to hear both of them together like that. I just do that a lot. And then Robin's thinking, but they're different. And then I could listen.
Auburn dog. Aw.
I did an okay job on that one.
Yeah, that was good. Yep.
Years of practice. Years of practice.
Years of practice. I speak Auburn as a second language.
Listening to me and Robin.
That's right. And so by looking up a word, when you finish looking it up, it ends up showing up in your history, your search history. And so it's just a handy way to have a word list and to find out its color val and hear it and practice it in making that list. Does that kind of trigger any thoughts or ideas?
If you could look up a whole lot of the same color, then you could do flooding.
Right. You could. We have lots of thoughts like that, of being able to search words in Blue Canoe by their color. That's another thought. Yeah, but you could do that here.
I want to know if anybody knew what that second word means.
Oh, you mean the worm that eats its tail? Is it Ouroboros?
Yeah.
Ouroboros. Yeah.
Nice, Robin. Raise your hand if you knew. Notice, I'll just go ahead and mention this just because we're always, thinking too about development of apps and so forth. Sometimes you're going to come across a word with inaccurate underlining. And sometimes you'll even come across a word that has inaccurate underlining and the wrong color. Sorry, this changes. When that happens, don't assume that you're the one who was wrong. Be prepared to say, maybe this is wrong. Because what happens is, this is not our dictionary. This is our overlay on the Oxford Online Dictionary. And there's a thing called an API, which is this fancy way of getting their programming into our program. And sometimes things get mistranslated and lines move. So when you come across a mistake, feel free to you can even just send me an email with the word and we get it fixed. Okay. So this one actually has, if you listen to it,
Ouroboros.
The stress is Ouroboros, and it has the line in the wrong place. Okay.
Did they do pianist or pianist?
They did pianist. I recently, that's on my list, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have pianist. Because I wasn't that aware of it. Somebody put it in their color val organizer. So.
That's how I learned to say it growing up. Pianist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's how I say it.
Huh.
But to me, it sounds like pianist.
Oh, he's a pianist.
A black cat pianist.
What about root and route? Yeah. Things like that.
So a lot of words like those will show up with both pronunciations, and I can't say for sure. R-O-U-G-H-R-O-U-T-E. Yes, I almost said R-O-U-G-H-T. But here's Blue Moon root and Brown Cow route, and they have the same. So it's not a perfect dictionary always, but it certainly can be used and leveraged in these different ways, right? And I think I stopped share on that.
And Karen, I think I always try to look up words that I really don't know to kind of prove to myself that once you know where the stress is and what that color vowel is, that you can really hear it very easily when it's pronounced.
That's right.
Because I really didn't know how to pronounce that Ouroboros.
Yeah.
Was not familiar with that word.
The last thing, I guess, as we finish up, maybe I want to make sure people know that if you are using Blue Canoe with your students, and if you decide to use Blue Canoe with your students through your school, where somebody other than the students aren't individually purchasing Blue Canoe, where your school is sponsoring it, then you have access to the educator's dashboard. Is anyone wondering about the dashboard? Has everybody seen the dashboard? The dashboard is pretty kind of handy because you can view how recently your students have visited, what they've done, how many minutes they've played, whether they played yesterday, how many days in a row they've played, how many days this month they've reached their goal of 10 minutes a day, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought I might show it to you, but I realize if I go in there, I'm going to be exposing data. So last week, that's why the video recording from last week isn't up, is because I accidentally showed email addresses that I don't want to put in public. So I'm not going to do that again right now. But that dashboard is a really lovely feature of the institutional version of Blue Canoe that you can use to keep people accountable for doing their homework and saying, commit to doing this 10 minutes a day. Use your hand, and I can see that you played yesterday. Okay. Does anybody use that right now or in the past? Yeah, Linda, do you use it with your students?
Well, she said she was going to sign up, and then she opted out, but I tried it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you get to use that, the dashboard?
Yeah, I checked out the dashboard and my statistics.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, that was very helpful.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, good, everybody. I'm happy to take any final sort of questions for today's Friday at 5. It's always fun, but we're nearing the end of our hour. Yeah, Jennifer.
I just noticed something if you go into chat now, because we're all numbered, our number shows up there in chat. So if you wanted to do pair work, like, talk to your partner about what color or come up with another word, they can chat privately with each other, instead of having to go into breakout rooms. If you just want them to check with each other real quick, like, what color do you think this is? Check with your partner or something.
No, that's right. And the other thing I'm noticing, I'm looking right now as if I were going to create breakout rooms for you all. And if we used, so Lynn Swanda just the other day came in with this wonderful system. Chelsea, you know what I'm talking about, right? Where not only did we all had these cards. It had a letter and a number. And the teachers there were many teachers and many learners. So the teachers all had a capital letter and a number. So the point is that would make it very easy for me to quickly make breakout groups instead of scanning everybody's names. Because now I'm looking at the breakout group lists in Zoom, and I could click all of the, say, lowercase letters, and I know that I'm grouping them by students, so forth, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just sort of, I realize now numbering people and having them do this here creates all kinds of conveniences. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Definitely, especially with middle school kids. I mean,
Yeah. And so if you just assign people their numbers permanently through your course, then when, Graciela logs in, she automatically puts the 6 right before her name, and we're all set up immediately. I mean, this really is, for me, transformative.
Yeah. I think they're right from the grade book and just take the number, and that's their number on Zoom. So.
Well done. Well done.
Karen, do you know about, there was the thing about signing up before June 30th. So I signed up the students I'm working with this summer. So does that mean on June 30th, their access to Blue Canoe is over? Laura was thinking that it was that you wouldn't have access if you waited until after June 30th to sign up. But if you signed up before June 30th, you have it, and that's it. That's the end.
Actually, I'm quite sure that it does end. Different from what you heard. And I say that because a survey was sent out to all educators who had opted into that free era. And they were asked if they wanted their students' accounts to be converted into free accounts or if they wanted Blue Canoe to delete their students' accounts. And that was a key sort of a privacy issue. Like we had wanted to ask that. And so I know from that data that that was asked, which means it does end and then they're transferred over into their private accounts and they can upgrade if they wish. So there may be some little back end, like some switch that didn't get switched possibly, but for the most part, I think students' free accounts will, that era ends on June 30th.
Okay, so they're going to get, each of them will get an email about that.
Mm-hmm. Or their account will be changed to represent that it's become a basic account again.
Oh, so it's going to revert to a basic account as opposed to being deleted.
I think the teacher had to decide. The teacher was asked to decide.
So I didn't get any email like that. So I'm just wondering what's going to happen on June 30th.
I will ask and I will get back to you. Does anybody else have that same question as I write this one down?
I'd like to know if everybody has the basic, that means we don't get the dashboard. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So the basic, think of it this way. I kind of think of it as a 2 and a 1. There's the individual version of the app that comes in basic, which is free and limited, right? It has just kind of a taste. And then there's the premium, which they pay for, and it's still individual. And so because it's individual, there's no app, there's no dashboard possibility there. Then there's the educator who gets it, who basically arranges for students to gain access to it through their school. And that's where the dashboard is over here.
Yeah,
right. So
that's what I'm doing, like coming up September, October, whenever I can bring it in. So I talked to, gosh, I forgot her name.
Sarah.
She's in Blue Canoe. Sorry.
Only a couple of us, but yeah. Sarah or Penny.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, there are other options. So I'm going to start that in the fall. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, we basically try to provide it the way we can so that at least everybody has access to the ColorVal chart itself and can do their warm-ups. They have access to that lesson that onboards them into ColorVal so they know how it works. And then all the videos are there. It's just kind of it's still a pretty handy companion, even in the basic version. Okay.
So Skip, is your school system paying for the license?
It's something I'm working out with Blue Canoe. They're going to kind of trial it at the school, so put it into the classroom there. So with the Clipfolio, with the so I can monitor the students. Yeah.
Now, if you go to Blue Canoe and talk to them, I know they're very interested. We are very interested in working with teachers in schools. We just have to find a balance point that keeps us. We're Blue Canoe, above water. Yeah. We can't be taking on water or else our canoe will.
Right. Well, I mean, I get that. And I was just asking because I work for an institution that I know is going to say no. So we have to find a way around that.
And so, creative ways you could, Sarah will be able to talk with you, but if students have to buy textbooks, it's a way of kind of re-envisioning what is a textbook.
Exactly. So that's what we were thinking about doing, but I don't want any administrators, they can't know about that because, it just have to be between the student and Blue Canoe and maybe the teacher. But beyond that, like nobody at the university is going to say, yes, we're going to get a license for all, the students. That's just not going to work.
Mm-hmm. I'd be interested to know how bookstores would respond to such a request and say, we want you to.
Bookstore, you mean?
Bookstore, the student bookstore.
We have Barnes and Noble. I don't know.
All right. Well,
but they must sell software for, I don't know, statistics classes or something, right?
Yeah, maybe they do.
Debbie, did you have a comment there?
No, I just need to leave now, so I wanted to thank you and say bye to everyone.
Great to see you. Have a great one. Take care. Hey, and thanks to everybody. I know we do have things to do. I'm going to go deliver cake somewhere, and my other life, we have a little cake business that's still just, I don't know, it's incubating. People like the cake. I don't do the baking. I just do some of the face-to-face stuff. So I'm off.
Is there what's on for next week?
On for next week, you know what, Jennifer? You want to tell everybody what's on for next week?
Not for next week. I think we need to be off for next week.
Aha, that's what I was wondering.
So the month of July, thanks. This is actually a great way to close up. The month of July is a resting month. We will be really ready to go back in August. We have lots of plans, and if you visit our website now and then again in August, you're going to see a pretty big change because we're going to be launching our new website in July. We will be launching a lot going on with courses in July for August. That includes chants. If you want to teach the rhythm of English with chants, I named it With a Chant. Teach the rhythm of English with chants, right? So the chants workshop, the English for pronunciation for English teachers, which is a course for non-native English speaking teachers who wish to improve their confidence. Actually, I was going to say pronunciation, but really it's about boosting confidence. And I know Graciella's in that class, and I mean, you know, you're a phenomenal English speaker, and yet we're just having so much fun together, right? And Chelsea's in there as a coach. And so it's this wonderful setting of teachers who are coaching and practicing and doing some fun stuff there. What else is going on? We have an intensive version of Color Vowel Basics. It'll last 3 weeks. Laura will be teaching that class, and it'll be twice a week. So that's going to be great. If you have colleagues who haven't yet gotten the basics, that's a great opportunity to be done by September and ready to teach, okay? Beyond that, we'll have some other new courses that I'm not going to be able to list off the top of my head, but we're excited, okay?
I wanted to just add, and I apologize for the open window and the sirens, and something exciting is happening on Little River Turnpike. But so we won't be here for Wednesdays at 1 or Fridays at 5, though Karen has reserved the right to pop in on Wednesdays at 1. So keep a lookout for, you know, announcements on the Facebook page.
That's right. And our newsletter is coming out soon. I want to thank a few people. You know, Jennifer has been the person keeping this all organized for you, so you know what's going on Fridays, making sure the publicity goes out, the newsletter, everything you see on Facebook. However you've been hearing about this, it's thanks to Jennifer. So I want to thank Jennifer. And then just every one of you who come, and maybe it's once and maybe it's every time, but it's just turned into this very exciting little thing that we've done on Fridays, and we're going to keep doing it.
What I like about this, I was just talking about this with somebody else. You know how when you go to a conference, you just love seeing all your colleagues, and you share all these ideas and stuff. This is like a mini conference every week. It's wonderful because I don't have this many colleagues at my school or at you know, either at AU or at Washington Literacy. And I love seeing everybody and finding out what's going on. And it has that conference vibe about it.
Mm-hmm. So if you don't get your newsletter, check your spam folder. You should get it sometime next week. So hopefully before July 1st. So if it's not in your inbox, check in your spam folder.
Okay, wonderful, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening, have a great weekend, and a great summer. And we'll see you in August.
Wow.
Whoa.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.